Pauper Simic Threshold is an aggro control deck that plays early threats, protects them with counterspells, and uses the Threshold ability to buff them up and ride them to victory. Now this is a stock list that multiple people have taken to 5-0 finishes in leagues on MTGO, so enjoy. We run 3 different early threats. They are playsets of the beloved Delver of Secrets, the new to the format Nimble Mongoose, yes that's right, a deck with Nimble Mongoose, and 3 Werebear. Delver of Secrets is an all-star that lets you look at the top card of your library at the beginning of your upkeep and reveal it if it's an instant or sorcery card, and if it is, it transforms into a 3/2 flyer, perfect for closing out games. Now Nimble Mongoose is a 1/1 for 1 green that has Shroud and Threshold. Shroud is an ability that makes it so both you and your opponent can't target it, meaning only edicts, board wipes, and combat can kill this thing. However, this means cards like Rancor can't target it either. Threshold is an ability that grants a buff to a card if you have at least 7 cards in your graveyard. The buff the card gets differs from card to card, but in this case, Threshold grants our Mongoose +2/+2, making it a hard to kill 3/3. Werebear is a 1/1 for 1 and a green that taps to add a green mana to your mana pool, and it also has the Threshold ability. In this case, Threshold grants Werebear +3/+3, making it a 2 mana 4/4. Now that we have our creatures, we have to protect them and find a way to turn on Threshold to buff them up. Let's start with our protection and control cards. Playsets of both Counterspell and Runesnag work great as counters to our opponent's early game plan as well as the late game plan. Counterspell is the counterspell, while Runesnag is in the deck simply because of its unique ability that increases the tax our opponents must pay to stop the spell from working. Since we want lots of cards in our graveyard, Runesnag is bound to be in our graveyard, which means each Runesnag we cast gets better and better with each copy of it in the graveyard. 1 Dispel mainboard is a great surprise and protects our Delver and Werebear from removal. 4 Vapor Snags are a huge tempo card in our deck. A well-timed Vapor Snag on one of our opponent's creatures can just swing the tempo in our favor and make it hard for our opponent to recover. In addition to protecting our creatures, we need to turn on Threshold to buff them up. For this function, we play 4 Thought Scour and 3 Mental Note. They're pretty much the same card, and put the top 2 cards of our library into the graveyard and draw us a card. Each time the spell resolves, we net 3 cards in the graveyard, because this goes there in addition to the 2 cards from the top of our library. This means that turning on Threshold is simple. It's also important to realize that these can be combat tricks, as they're instant. Swing in with Mongoose or Werebear without Threshold. Then, after they declare blockers, you can cast this to turn on Threshold. The same works for blocking your opponent's creatures. Either way, this can blow them out. To make sure we get the cards we need when we need them, we play a good amount of card selection. 4 Brainstorm and 4 Ponder are here just for that. And I know you're probably thinking, what? Brainstorm? That's only good in Legacy, not Pauper. Well, Brainstorm has synergy with Thought Scour and Mental Note, as we can cast Brainstorm, put 2 unneeded cards on top of our library, and then cast Thought Scour or Mental Note and put the 2 unneeded cards in our graveyard. We also run some card draw in the form of 2 Gush and 1 Una's Grace. Gush is an insanely powerful card that we can cast for free by returning 2 islands to our hand. Una's Grace is great in the late game that also plays well with our graveyard. The reason for this is because it has the Retrace ability, which, if this card is in our graveyard, lets us discard a land in addition to paying its mana cost to cast it from the graveyard. And no, it does not exile after being cast from the graveyard. It stays there, allowing us to turn all our extra lands into new cards. Our mana base consists of 4 Evolving Wilds, 4 Thornwood Falls, 1 Forest, and 9 Island. Don't forget that Evolving Wilds has some synergy with Brainstorm, as it can shuffle away our unneeded cards that we put on top of our library. The strengths of this deck include it's interactive, it's very skill intensive, and it's synergistic. Its weaknesses are it's difficult to pilot optimally, it's very weak to graveyard hate, and control decks can out-control it. For our sideboard, we run 3 Dispel and 3 Stormbound Geist for our control-heavy removal matchups, 2 Naturalize for Boggles and Affinity, 4 Moment's Peace for our aggro matchup, and 3 Piracy Charm to push through damage against blue decks, act as a removal spell in a pinch, and can have our opponents discard a card at instant speed. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and share the video. Our last video had the most views in the first day of posting than any of my other videos, so thank you all for the continued support. If you're interested in the deck, I put a link in the description that will take you to the deck list on mtggoldfish.com. There you can see the prices for both MTGO and paper. Don't forget to subscribe, and please follow me on Twitter at Pauper_Fox. And as always, don't forget to check out the Pauper subreddit r/Pauper for all your Pauper needs, and check in next week for a new deck tech. Thanks again.